Welcome back to another Conquest Corner. On this particular episode, we are going to go through some updated changes for Sorcerer Kings. So I previously did about a 5-part review for Sorcerer Kings, discussing all the units, all these different ideas, all the rules, everything, how I thought they worked, and all of that. And all of that was absolutely valid. And then about, as the time of recording, about 2 days ago, I had released a video on city states, and someone said, hey, you talked about doing Sorcerer Kings and you'll play them in a tournament. They're updated in time. They were just updated. So there was a stealth update. Be aware of that. Every now and then there are some updates that I just that aren't noticed, or I don't get a notice of. They were probably talked about on the Discord, but I'm on so many Discords I sometimes lack in watching those. But there were some updates, and there are some absolutely big changes. So I want to go through this, and this does mean I will be taking Sorcerer Kings to a tournament this weekend. I'm going to probably be doing another video tonight or tomorrow that's going to talk about what my list will be, because I don't know yet. I might actually do it even just as a list building, but I have work in a little bit, so I'm not going to do that here. And plus, this way it's a little bit differentiated. I'll probably share a little bit of what my thoughts are, but I don't know for sure yet what it's going to be. I'm probably going to try to come up with that tonight. Now, keep in mind right now, for anyone watching, this is early April, which means some of the other units like the Rakshasa and the Archers and all that just aren't out yet. Or, no, they're not the ones. I think we're getting the Digin next with the Rakshasa. So my list is, mostly where they can look at what sort of other options I put in, but we'll be going through that as well. Keep in mind, if you're looking to pick up this or anything else for Conquest, we do have a discount code below. You can save yourself 10%. Strain Kickers. They said helps us out, saves you money. Good for everyone. All right, let's get into this then. So, like I said, we're just taking a look at Sorcerer Kings. They also listed an update for 100 Kingdoms. I don't know what it was. I didn't actually take a look at it. My guess is probably not much of anything, I would hope. If it is something crazy, I'll talk about that as well, because I literally just talked about 100 Kingdoms. Really, some of the other videos I've made, they will be updating some things, so I'm probably going to do some updates to those as time goes on. Once I'm kind of like full through a full army, I'll go back in and say like, hey, here's the stuff they might have changed, and here's what that stuff means. Now, when I did this before, I had the red over on the side of the screen. I don't have that right now. I have it on my phone. I haven't updated my phone, so I do have that. Most of the changes I can talk to exactly what the differences were, but some of them will need to pull this up. Here's the first change, and this is honestly really useful. They do this for Old Dominion, so you have a rule that is based off of an amount of things that need to occur, an amount of tokens to gather. In this, so in Old Dominion, I need, in general, my units to go away to get my tokens for my power. Here, I need to have characters to get my tokens for my power. So you have a limited resource. You either don't have enough stands to destroy an Old Dominion, or maybe you can't run enough characters here because the battle size is too small. So they just clarified that, hey, when it's 2,000 or above, follow the rules as we said. But if you're under, for every 400 points under, your rituals are down by 1. Now, the other thing we're going to see, in case people are not aware, the ritual numbers have decreased in some cases by half or even less. It used to be some of them were 10s and 12s and all. They're like 5s in general now, like 5s and 6s. So, 1 less for every 400 is an appreciable change. I think what they realized is if you wanted this to happen, it was forcing your hand for certain things. So now if you're playing a smaller game, you can still get your rituals. Because when it took 12... and you say only we're taking 2 characters because it's a small game, you were never going to get your ritual. Some other big changes they did. Supremacy for the Maharaj. The difference now is it's always active. The supremacy before, so elemental confluence, essentially means that, hey, when your characters do the elemental rites action and add a ritual marker to a ritual that's being prepared, you can add one to another one that's already having been prepared. So you can add one marker to 2 different rituals instead. It used to be that he had to be on the board. Now you just can do this. So that helps, level out the fact that maybe him or his unit is not the one that you need early. I've always run into that issue. If you need your warlord to be there to get the ability, then sometimes your warlord unit is like the first to say medium that you guarantee in, even though you don't want to, even though you want other units instead. So they fixed that a bit. I know where the other fix is. I know the other thing I'm looking for, it just isn't here. Other changes for the moment, the only changes to the characters, I should say, was that Sidar does have Arcane Conduit. And Arcane Conduit is a little bit different. Let's skip down to talk about that since we're talking through characters for a moment here. Sorry. Here we go. Arcane Conduit. Like I said, this is a little different. What it used to do, when that character stand was it? Oh, sorry. When the regiment the character was in activated and they were in range of an objective zone, you get a ritual marker. So I'm in this unit. My unit activates. They're on an objective. Boom, get ritual marker. Now it's the end of the round. So if they're within range, if the character is within the range of the objective zone, that's the other big change. It used to be if your regiment was, now it's if the character is. That does help in certain cases. Really, it means that depending on where you put yourself, it depends on where you put your character. I don't know if there's a bonus to that. One, that means if you're setting yourself up to score, it's going to help you, but it's helping you at the end of the round. So you can, maybe to some extent, it helps early game probably more than it does late. So early game, you are maybe trying to move to your objectives. You're not on them at the start of your activation, so you wouldn't get the extra. So now, if you can walk to your objectives, so maybe in, say, that turn 2 or turn 3, where naturally you probably weren't starting on the objective before that, you've now had a chance to get your extra moves in, now you're on your objectives, so now you're getting a ritual marker that you wouldn't have had before. You do have to wait till the end of the round, so you do have to consider, is the opponent going to be able to remove my regiment or remove my character? Specifically notice, it is the character now, not the regiment. So, they have another stand next to me. They're a really good dueler. I may not get my bonuses anymore. So early, I think it really helps you a lot. Later, it's probably a somewhat maybe of a downgrade, because now you can't say, I scored, I'm going to go walk forward because I want to go hit someone else or do something. But you at least have some consistency. You especially know if they're not nearby to take you off an objective, that you're going to get these markers now. So you can be a little bit more free moving with your regiments where you're lining them up. So that was a big thing. The other thing is the elemental rule. I'll just mention this now because it's going to come up. Elemental is, hey, if right before this you drew a ritual command card, it's now until the end of the round that regiment gets a free action during its activation. So they just word that, it happens throughout the rest of the time. Very useful. But that was the only change to characters. It was just the Sidar, because the Sidar didn't have it before. I like that they did put that for Arcane Conduit, because even though the Sidar doesn't cast spells, it is part of this army. It is a character held chosen by the gods, the deities, however you want to think about it. So it makes sense that you have this. I mean, the whole point is that they are trying to be masters of these other domains and planes. He may not be a master of it, but they can use and channel through him. Also, what it means is, for the types of things that he can take, now he actually can get these bonuses. Before, he actually couldn't get them. So you got another spot of Raja Kur that can get you some extra bonuses. Okay. They did change a couple of the banners and all of that, so let's get into those. Okay. One of the changes that we're going to see here in overall is, so Bloodlust is out from the army. There's no more Bloodlust. That could come back. Now, Bloodlust was going to be changed. Bloodlust was going to be, yes, you can still charge from off the board, but you're no longer being pulled around because you don't have to make this resolve test or just start charging or rushing at the opponent. They were just going to make it where then you can't leave. That's gone army-wide. So, the banner of Elemental Dominance used to say, hey, in a 14-inch bubble, you target a friendly unit, they lose Bloodlust and get unstoppable. Now, regiments within that are elemental, of course, which is pretty much everything. The only thing now that aren't currently out and elemental are your Rajakur and your archers, because your Mahut got elemental. Elemental regiments within 10 inches get unstoppable. You don't need to lose Bloodlust because it's not a thing anymore, and it's not even just one regiment. It's 4 inches shorter, but it's all of them around. So your Digins and your Freets can't get unstoppable. This gives them the option for that. Your goals get unstoppable, but now your big brutes have unstoppable. as well as your Mahut, because I don't believe I had it before, if memory serves. The Shalat got some changes. So if we take a look at what the Shalat used to do, you would gain Blessed, and then when you do the elemental rites and you manifest a marker, you got an extra. You still gain Blessed, and when it performs the elemental rites action select a ritual prepare, the ritual starts with 2 markers. So, select the ritual. Because it used to start with 1 marker, now you actually start with 2 markers. There we go. Yeah, you used to start it with a marker, now you actually get to start it with 2. So, scrolled back to the elemental rites action. Before, it never talked about giving you a ritual marker to start with. Now it specifies that you get a marker when you decide to start a ritual, you get a marker on it. That's why it had to say that you get to put 2 on it, because you naturally now get to put 1 on when it starts. We're going to see that before it was kind of tough to get your rituals going, which is sort of the faction's identity. Now you get them. So, Shalat, almost a necessary upgrade for someone. Bless is really good. I've been going back and forth if I want that on the Raj, because the Raj essentially only casts on himself. 3 out of 4 spells are on himself. Although getting the 2 markers depends on whose rituals I want. I've also put it on the Sorcerer, because that's an option as well. I haven't decided where I want to put that. Pavarotin just mentions that's a free additional out-of-sequence spellcasting action. Remember, they do have to say stuff like that, because otherwise you're not allowed to double up something that you weren't allowed to double up before. If they say it's additional, then you may. All right. For the masteries, for combat, being able to get on the Mahut. That's what the Favor of Hormus does. I believe before it had a different name. Yeah, it was Lord of All They See for 15 points. Stayed 15 points. The big thing is that the Mahut loses its barrage rule, and it gains Terrifying 1. So, the Terrifying 1 you always got. Losing your barrage was not a thing, though. Yeah, it does say that you gain the Rule Special Rider and must choose to rise a Mahut in their warband, regardless of the fact that it has the Elemental Special Rule, which was never a thing before. Yeah, you used to only also get the Terrifying with an objective range. Now you're just Terrifying all the time. Makes sense. It's a giant construct elephant. That's scary. For a normal person, that's pretty frightening. Spells didn't get any changes, which is nice, but big changes to the rituals. Let's go through the fastest changes. This is something we talked about before. The biggest change is when you perform your ritual in the past. My turn was perform ritual, done, goes to you. Now, perform ritual. Depending on what court it is in, I may look at the card underneath of it. And if that card is related to the same court that my ritual was, that card may activate. So now, if I do a Court of Fire and the card underneath is one of the Efreet units, that Efreet unit gets to go. This is honestly necessary for tempo. This also means you're more willing to put your rituals in spots where they'll do good. The problem would be is if you lose that much tempo, if it's say turn 4 and you're like, oh man, they got multiple charges lined up on me, I need to get forward and do something. Doing a ritual may not do enough. So like they activate, do something good to you, you perform a ritual, which sets you up nicely for later, but then they get another action, they get charges into you, combat into you, whatever it is they're going to do to you. It puts you behind the 8 ball. Now you don't. There is some other very big things though. For those other big things, where am I looking? There it is. The rituals got so much cheaper. So, Intrusive Thoughts changed. It used to be 10, so it's literally half as much. Intrusive Thoughts used to get Bloodlust. Bloodlust is no longer really a negative, realistically, so they changed it entirely. Target an enemy regiment that's within 12 of a friendly spellcaster, and they don't seize objectives. Intrusive Thoughts now, before I thought about it, I said, okay, well, if someone has bad resolve, it could be good. You could be making some choices for them. Maybe I pull them off an objective or force them to try a 6-inch charge that they don't want to, and all those sorts of things. Cool. But not that much. You know, you needed your enemy to do something to make it worthwhile. If they don't miss, So if they try it and nothing bad happens, then you got nothing for it. This now means you always get something. They were going to take that objective, just remove their ability to score it. Notice they can't seize them. They can still contest them. So it doesn't mean it's yours, but at least they don't get them. So project this out into an objective you're not going to get to. It's in 12 inches of one of your, one of your friendly regiments that has a spellcaster. You got good options for that. Incite Rage. Incite Rage used to be 10 ritual markers. It's 5 now. Conflagration. I think they're all almost exactly half. Conflagration was 9, so it's 5, so just about half. The big thing here is they say it's a free additional out-of-sequence spellcasting, because otherwise, by previous wording, you can only... I used the cast out-of-sequence, I can't cast again. No, they essentially said, no, you're allowed to. Fire Dominion used to be 12, now it's 6. When we take a look at Court of Air, Farsight... Partly, like I said, I have to look to see who has it. Farsight, I know, was on the Sorcerer. It used to be 12, now it's 7, so it's about half. I'm still fine with that, though, because this is the one that lets you choose, rearrange 3 in your stack and activate, which is pretty big. If it belongs to the regiment, yeah, and then when you do that, now Farsight doesn't interact with it that much, because naturally you're going to be pulling that card, which is what would happen. Saif, I believe, is just about halved as well. It used to be 11, now it's 6. And Spiteful Winds, I want to say, is on the Raj. Yeah, Spiteful Winds used to be an 11, now it's a 6. You are going to actually get your rituals. I'll be honest, before I was pretty much forcing to take the Maharaj as my warlord for his supremacy, because I need to be able to get extra tokens down. I didn't stand a chance otherwise. With this, now I can realistically get them off. I built a list before, and I was only getting essentially 3 caster characters, which means I was only naturally putting down 3 tokens a turn. There's ways to get more, of course, but naturally 3, which meant some of those abilities you just weren't going to get. Now that they're all halved, now that they're only costing you at most 7, good amount of them 5 or 6, you can realistically get them off every couple turns. If there's certain ones you really want, you can put down with 1 token. If it takes a lot, you can start it with 2 tokens. If the Maharaj is your leader, then when him or someone else goes, they could put a token on that one and another one that's already started. You can now really start to speed this up. And since you have your elemental, your conduit, your arcane conduit, if at the end of round you're sitting on objectives, you're getting extras as well. So, and notice for that conduit, I'm going to go back to it because until we're comfortable with these rules, I want to keep showing them. You add to one that's currently being prepared, it doesn't matter which one. So if you really want a certain one, all of them can pool to that one. So you can help guarantee, it's the end of the round. Man, I really need to, any of them would work, but let me get to a good example of one of them. Something you may want early in the round. Oh, I know where they are. They're absolutely set to charge me. Okay, if I started Spiteful Winds and it wasn't quite ready before, everyone's markers can go on it. Now it's ready. Now I can guarantee that their charge is March +2 and they're 1 inch too far away. So if I can get this, they don't get their charges. And even if they could, your opponent could win the roll, do they set that unit first? Because they know you have gotten this ability that could stop them from charging, which removes most of what they wanted to do. So now do they bother with that first? And then if you go first, they have a completely ineffective unit. Or do they go with something else to be able to at least get something good going for the start of turn? Your abilities, you're going to get them now. I think that's great. I'm really looking forward to this. For your regiments, like I said, Bloodlust is out. So they're elemental, they're unstoppable, and they have Vanguard. For goals, they also got an extra wound, which is really good. The 3 wounds was rough. That's no wounds whatsoever. On Resolve 2, Defense 2, you were just getting slammed down. I'm probably still taking big units because I think they're still going to get cut down pretty consistently. But at least now they're going to do something for me. Your Disciples, now just talk about they have a leader. They're not out yet, so I wasn't too worried about that. Your Flamecasters didn't really change, but your Sword Dancers did. Your Sword Dancers lost Bloodlust. Bloodlust is gone from your army. The rest of the things are there, although they did lose another rule. The other rule that these units had that said essentially, when the regiment is destroyed, pick one of your rituals and it completes. They removed that. I'm absolutely fine with them removing that because your numbers are half as big. So you're actually going to get your rituals. You're not having to just throw away, sword dancer units to be able to get a ritual that require 12 markers. And it's later in the game and you lost a character and you'll never get it otherwise. You're going to get them now. So that's fine. Same thing happened with your Steelheart. They lost the Bloodlust. The other rules are essentially the things they already had. The only other big change is the Mahut. Like I said, got Elemental. And that is actually it. So, good amount of changes. Very happy with these changes. Your rituals now will happen, which is great. I absolutely want those rituals, so now I actually get to have them. That's big. Losing Bloodlust. Okay. You therefore also lost your ability to charge coming from off of the board. For the goals, that's fine. Like I said, they're light. So they're turned 3 in automatically. They have Vanguard, so there was some options. If you chose to auto keep, let's say you had a goals unit. If you chose to keep them out, because remember, you can get an auto in and auto out. You want to be holding them out until probably turn 3 and hope your opponent's near an edge that we can move charge assault. That's a plan, but the tough part was I'm having to choose to keep something away rather than choosing to get something in. Turn 2, you usually want to start bringing some sort of medium. You want your characters because you want to start getting rituals down, which means since it's normally only on 2s, maybe I don't roll well. I've rolled plenty of times where I have like 4 or 5 medium units and I roll 3 and ups. I roll, 40k dice instead of Conquest dice. So it's kind of a feel bad that you're holding it back to hope it does something good and hope your opponent sets you up well because they need to be near the board edge. You can't come in within 8 because otherwise Vanguard doesn't work. So there was conditions. Now there's not. You have Vanguard. You have an extra wound. Just go fight them. Same thing with the Ifrit. When they talked about the Bloodlust changes, I was more excited about it. And Ifrit potentially have the chance of coming in from a board edge and having like assaulted. However, they didn't have Vanguard. And that's not really something you're getting in this army. So if I'm not going to really get that, then their ability to charge and attack doesn't really do any good because you have to be on the board first. So it wasn't really doing me much. So removing that rule in general, I'm absolutely fine with that. I said, you're getting unstoppable in your goals. You have a banner that's going to give unstoppable to your Ifrit and Degens that want to get into combat so they can get their impacts and their attacks in. In general, it was a big strength upgrade. Everything they did was an upgrade in terms of playability of this army. I'm a little bit surprised that it came out as fast as it did because this army's only been in our hands for about a week. So to me, I don't know how the playtesting didn't catch some of these things. Maybe they paid attention to some of us who talk about it and just said, we see some problems and it doesn't feel like it's going to work well. Because I didn't. I'll be honest. The early part of this list, I wasn't going to bring it to that tournament without these changes because it would be actively bad. I'm already lacking some units to be able to do some cool things with. I don't have my Rakshasa to go hunt things down. I don't have all the cleave that I really want. I don't have the brutal impact that I really want. I'm lacking some things, but with these changes, I feel comfortable enough to bring it. Again, it's not a super competitive tournament. We don't play that level. We're playing mostly for fun. Am I necessarily going to win it? Probably not, but I get to play 3 rounds with my brand new army and see how they do. That's absolutely worth it to me. So those are the changes. Like I said, I'm going to put a video out also talking about the list I'm going to bring, show that, and then going to try to record at least one of the games with me, but with some other players as well, but record some games with it as well. So you'll be seeing that probably in the next day or so. You'll be seeing a 30K episode. You'll be seeing that. And then once the weekend hits, the tournament's on Sunday. After Sunday, I will be editing any battle reports I can get out of that. Like I said, I want to get 1 to 2, maybe 3 if I can get it. Some people don't like being on camera and I don't force people. So depending on how many players we get and who wants to be on camera or not will depend on whether or not how many of them I record. But if not, the week after I'm recording some more games as well, especially also for Old World and some other stuff we want to do now that I have a dedicated machine for all this. All right, that's enough for this video. Let me know below if you're excited about these changes as I am. Let me know if you think they did enough for this faction to really be able to let them sing. All right, on behalf of everyone here at the show that has a good hobby, it's a great gaming.